Says where Klarissicasays, that's how I feel. We are back with another video. I hope that you guys are doing wonderful. Hope that you guys are doing great. Yeah, guys. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful day. So, y'all, it has been a while since I did a video, and it's about time I did a video. Okay, I have binge watched Jeffrey Dahmer's Netflix series, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculously crazy. Okay, there are a bunch of things that are definitely need to be more than PG 13, PG 18. Okay, that are shown in the Netflix series, and there's a bunch of things that happen in the Netflix series I want to talk about and discuss. You know, while I have you guys on. So while I have some energy, because y'all, I have been without energy and it's been a while since I posted, so I want to make sure I post something for you guys while I have, the energy to do so. Okay. That Netflix series is crazy. I want to make sure I say this now before we get into the details of the series. That hey Andre the Prince, hello Queen, hey Prince, hey my King, how you been? How you doing? Thank you for joining, and make sure you subscribe and share if you're not already subscribed. And if you're a new subscriber, by the way, welcome to the family. I know it's been a while since I've been on here, so welcome to all my newcomers and the ones, especially my OG subscribers. I love y'all. But yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer probably didn't. Okay. So let's talk about it real quick. Let's talk about it. I don't want this video too long. But like I was saying, I want to make sure say it in the beginning that I do not at no point, shape, or form advocate anything that Jeffrey Dahmer was doing. No, I'm not in support of anything he was doing. I'm not, um, promoting anything that he did. I want to make sure I'm using the right terminologies. However, it needs to be discussed, okay? And I feel like a lot of people after the situation and even right now are kind of like not to say idolizing, but I feel like downplaying the situation because it was made into a comic book, it was made into a TV series, it was made into, articles and news broadcastings back in that time when it was actually going on back in the 1990s. And even now, people are talking about the show, which I will tell you, it was very, I feel like, interesting. So I can understand why people actually were talking about it. But I want to make it be known that this is something that is really serious. People did pass away from this man. He really was eating humans. And there were a lot of bad things that happened. Okay, so I don't want for people to watch the series and, take away from the severity of the situation. This was legitly something that was horrifically done and should be respected in that manner. Okay, I do feel like a lot of people are forgetting that fact that people actually passed away from this man. Okay, now romanticize is a word. When you have TV shows and movies and articles and all that kind of stuff and comic books talking about situations like this, it becomes a romanticized situation. The severity situation becomes downplayed. Okay. Now, personally, I do feel like this is something they should have made a series about, so people that will know the 70 people that passed away or were involved with the situation. We want to make sure their legacy is being passed on forever. They didn't get their park, by the way. To this day, they still don't have no memorial park. The 17 men that were involved in the situation with Jeffrey Dahmer still do not have their resting grounds as a memorial. And I'm gonna go through those series with you guys briefly, so then you guys will be caught up to what I'm referring to. And I'll basically tell you now. So basically, the apartment building that Jeffrey Dahmer were doing all of this stuff in, Glenda, who was the woman who was really, 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 really calling to try to make sure the cops were involved, to try to make sure that they knew what was going on, was pushing, and the family members were pushing to get a memorial park for the passing. Okay, and if you guys come in and you hear some noise, it's about time for my kids to get home, my child to get home, so you might hear them come in. But yeah, so they never got that park. So at the point that the reason why I'm saying that is because I feel like the movie personally paid homage to most of the victims. And I feel like they should have made it more um, of like a memorial type of series for the victims. I know that the story more so was about Jeffrey Dahmer, and then of course it'd be kind of long to try to do a background of each victim, you know. And so they, of course, they only mentioned the victims that were truly important to the well, they mentioned all the victims more so or less, but they really honed in on the victims that were like you know, more important to the storyline of Jeffrey Dahmer. And so, with that being said, I do feel like a lot of the important details of these people that end up passing's life were not mentioned, and I want to make sure that's made apparent. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to do a quick 5 second, you know, maybe 5 to 10 second rest in peace to those that were involved. Down below, eventually I'll get down to putting a list of all the 17 men that were involved with this whole situation. And I just want to give a rest in peace for them because they went through something really traumatic. And I don't wish that upon my worst enemy. To be honest, I don't have any enemies, but if I did, I wouldn't wish it upon them at all because that's something that it was crazy. Okay, so let's give it first. You know, first let's get into that first, and then we'll go ahead and go into the series. Okay. All right. So, guys, let's talk about it. So the movie, well, to me, it was like a movie. The series started with Jeffrey, you know, basically being a kid, and as he's being a kid, he was kind of like the weird kid. Okay, his mom was, you know, on antidepressants, and his mom and dad was arguing, and they kind of started the TV series showing that to basically give you a streamline to how he became who he was and how the events of his childhood basically, I feel like they basically were saying that the events of his childhood kind of pushed him to be who he was, or who he became. And personally, I don't know how true that is, but that's kind of what I got from it. They kind of streamlined it to get to that point where they show how he was kind of bullied, how he was different than other kids, how you know, he liked to get roadkill. And there are people out here, especially in the country, that decide like to pick up the roadkill and do like the there's like the stuff that I can't think of the words right now, but like to go ahead and stuff the animals and pull out the organs, all that kind of stuff. In most cases, not. They like science and they become doctors. They become, you know, coroners. They become, you know, biologists. They don't become, you know, mass. And I may not say certain words because YouTube have regulations, but y'all see my mouth, y'all see what I'm saying, right? So yeah, okay. With that being said, he started to, you know, he brought home items of roadkill, and his dad decided that this would be something they can get along with. Being that him and his mom will always battle, he said, you know, what can I do to get along with my son? And one of the mom's issue was the fact that their son was not normal. And she made it perfectly clear. And so that was his way, the father's way of trying to connect with his son, and he took that up as a hobby with his son, which his mother hated, absolutely hated, was disgusted, did not want her son to do that, did not want any parts about that, but that's what ended up happening. So you keep fast forward to his life and how he still was the weird kid and still did things that were, you know, different. The kids would pick on him about, you know, wanting to play like he was Riri, and they'll pick on him about, you know, trying to dissect. I think it was a pig. There was a fetal pig that they had to dissect in science class, and he wanted a kid to come home with him and dissect the pig with him, and the kid was like, "Ugh, disgusting, no." But he still took it home and he did it with his dad, and he used to play with the organs, and he ended up having a you know, a liking to the shininess of the organs. That's really what kind of, I think, what, you know, the movie made known was the initial I would say endorphins. The initial liking to him when it came down to that kind of stuff was that the shininess of the organs. I find kind of disgusting, but there are still some scientists out there that will say the same thing, and they have the same kind of like for stuff like that. Okay, so, you know, streamlining it, he doesn't say that he had any relationships with women while he was younger, and he finally decided to, you know, pursue certain feelings that he had towards men. Now, of course, back in the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, and so on, it was kind of very foreign to be you know, gay, lesbian, queer, bisexual, anything that was like the norm of male and female relationship. So when somebody of that, no matter if you're female or male, felt that way, it was like you're bringing disgrace on the family, right? So that's another issue that Jeffrey Dahmer had, the fact that he felt these feelings for the same sex, not the opposite sex, and he was a weird kid, and he wanted to do all this crazy stuff with dead animals. It was a whole lot of. So instead of, I feel like that's another issue. Instead of him coming out and be like, this is what I like, you want to hide it and be weird about it, which made it even worse. And so he goes on to see this guy who was running, and the guy that was running, he ended up getting a crush on. From that guy, he ended up trying to maybe possibly kidnapping the guy with the bat, and he ended up deciding not to do so. But days go on, and this guy that's trying to get to some concert, he catches, his name was Steve or Steven, and he decides to befriend this guy, and he actually ended up liking this guy. This guy was not gay. And so the guys are going to his house. They end up drinking a couple of beers with Jeffrey Dahmer, and they made it very apparent that he was a strong, it made it very apparent that he was a strong alcoholic, including beer. That was another issue they made apparent. The protagonist was definitely an alcoholic. And so he would say that a lot of his issues came from drinking, but he was drinking since a young adult. His parents ended up basically leaving him once he was like 17. The mom left the dad, who left him by himself in the house. The dad left because he had his own woman, new mistress, and Jeffrey was just left by himself at this time, now 17, senior year. So with that being said, he was just doing his own thing on his own with no supervision, nobody to watch him, nobody to control him, nobody to tell him right from wrong. Okay. And personally, I feel like his parents weren't doing the best was telling him right from wrong to begin it, because back when he was doing that whole, I can't think of the name of it, y'all know the name, put a comment down below, when you take the animals and you stuff the animals and get all that, y'all know what I'm talking about. When he was doing that kind of stuff, they should have done the blood right in there. They should have said, this is not the things that you should want to have to feel like to do. It's a hobby, but if you have any other associated feelings towards this, that's not good. See, there's a reason. There was a very wrong issue with that. Okay, so let's keep going. So hey, babe. So yeah. So then you get into the story where Steven, no, you good. I already said y'all coming home. Hi, babe. So no, I can't come. I'm doing a video real quick. So yeah, so they didn't stop him. I feel like, let me say something. With my kid coming in the door, I just thought about something. As a parent, when you see something that's not right, even if you don't want to step on the kid's toes, devalue the child's opinion or any of that, you still want to, oh, thank you, boo. You still want to, nip things in the bud. Hi, babe. You still want to nip bad behaviors and bad things in the bud then and there. The issue is some parents be afraid of their kids and afraid of the outcome of how their kids will react to certain discipline and certain rules and certain things that they, want to tell the kids not to do and to do. And, with that being said, you have issues like Jeffrey Dahmer, and the dad ended up saying in the long run that he should have stepped up and told him, that the things that he was feeling and stuff like that was not right. But by then it was too late. Okay. So yeah. So now at this point where he is right now in his life, he's by himself, a teenage alcoholic. He used to bring beers to school. And the teachers just decided to say, F it. At least he's coming. He meets this guy while the guy is hitchhiking to get to this concert. Let's get back to it, right? So he meets the guy, takes him home. They're drinking beers. They're working out. They're doing all this kind of stuff. And the guy is like, okay, you told me that you'll take me to the concert by this time. The concert starts at 7, I think they said, or 6 o'clock. I think it was 7 or 6 o'clock. And, it's now 4 or 5 o'clock, and we're still at your house. When are we leaving? After he done spent time with him, after he done hung out, the guy's like, all right, cool. It's time for us to go. Jeffrey, turn it down. Jeffrey was like, no, I don't want you to go. And he attempts to kiss him. He actually, says that he did put his lips to his lips. And the guy was like, whoa there. No, 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 no. I don't go that way. Do me a favor, boo. Go watch something again. Let's hit the remote and then go in my room. You want your candy back?
This?
No, my remote is in the room. So, here. I don't want no more. Thank you, my love. So yeah. The guy was like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. I don't go that way. I don't, and I no disrespect, but I don't go that way. So like, are we leaving or not? So, all right. Jeffrey's like, I don't want you to leave. And the guy's like, all right, man. So since you playing games, I'm about to miss my concert. I'm about to get out of here. Jeffrey takes one of the weights that they were doing. Like I mentioned, they were working out, they were smoking, they were drinking, and he knocks the guy upside the head. Now, of course, the movie or the series that I watched was a depiction of it, but this is exactly how Jeffrey explained it. The thing I want to make sure I make very apparent, I'm not going to go through the whole thing of the series, but I'm going to go through the key point series, is that Jeffrey Dahmer was very, 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 very truthful and upfront with the accounts that he encountered. He basically gave all of the vivid details of the situation. That's why Netflix was so that's why this series was so easily to be made, and that's the reason why it was such a realistic series. You want to take your bath or you want to watch TV? Okay. So because he was very so upfront and honest with those situations. So therefore it's very easy to reenact a situation that was told so vividly. So he really knocked this guy out with this dumbbell and killed him. Okay. So instead of Jeffrey Dahmer doing the sensible thing and calling 911 and admitting to the situation and telling them that it was an accident, because he technically didn't really mean to him, but he did, and it was a slip in the moment where he did something he shouldn't have done, and that was it was what it was. He should have just nipped that in the bud and just told the truth from then on, and then maybe he would have got some rehabilitation and maybe be able to be a sensible person in life. But that's not what happened. Instead, he took the route of doing what he did to the dead animals and burned the body, burned the bones, decomposed everything, used the chemicals and decomposed the skin. It was just a whole bunch of nastiness, okay? And spread everything of the remains around the property of his home. That was his first victim, okay? The second victim, also named, turn that TV down, also named Steven, okay? So the second one, he went to this club and he liked the guy and he brought him home, and it was a whole bunch of and he ended up the same way, okay? So the problem with all of this is that in all of the situations as they decided to lead up, Steven he liked him. He ended up meeting him at the bar, ended up going to a hotel room, ended up drugging himself, because instead of Jeffrey Dahmer actually being a real person and just liking somebody and entertaining somebody and being naturally likable with these people, he felt the need to drug them. I don't understand why. I guess because he knew he was going to do some foul stuff, so he didn't want them to feel pain. But it's like, if you like somebody, why would they have to feel pain in the first place? Why would they have to go through all that in the first place? So yeah, this guy named Steven again was drugged. He ended up drugging himself because he tried to drug him, and he put something in his drink, and that was his method of madness, putting something in somebody's drink and then drugging them, and then having them drink it and going about their business. So yeah, guys, with that being said, he ended up drugging himself, and then he ended up accidentally waking up, and the guy was deceased. He don't know how, he don't know what, it just happened that way. And instead of doing what he should have did for the first guy, he also took the body and decomposed it himself. Okay, so I don't want to continue being redundant. We're going to keep going through this in fast forward. So there was this one guy named Tony who he actually did not drug for quite a while. And when Tony decided to say, you know what, I have to go back to my school, that's when he decided to say, okay, you're going to leave me. So I feel like all the accounts had the same kind of message. He had an issue with abandonment. You know, maybe it came from his mother, but whenever the people said they were going to leave or wanted to leave or didn't want to do what he wanted to do, he felt the need to keep them, and he kept records of every single thing that he did. Okay, so with that being said, I personally feel like there was a lot of things that Jeffrey should have gotten help with. Okay, I feel like there's a bigger message to this Netflix series. I feel like there's lots of people out in the world right now from a young childhood, from early childhood, that parents see things, very questionable things that they should address, as I was talking earlier, and they don't address them. And when people turn out like Jeffrey Dahmer, people always look confused, weird, and want to be oblivious to the situation. But if he was probably trained a little bit different or talked to up front from a child, then he might have definitely ended up different. Now, some people they just lost causes, but at the end of the day, at least you can say you tried to help the person. Now, the dad did a lot to try to help Jeffrey stay on the straight and narrow. He paid for him to go to school, which he flunked out. He enlisted into the army, which he also was kicked out of for accounts of an army man and alcoholism. But there were a lot of things that happened with Jeffrey that he should have been reprimanded for, and it was like a blind eye. He even got stopped. He got stopped driving with a body in the car by a cop who didn't even know he had a body in the car. And so, and of course, because he was 21 at the time, he had just turned 21, and they were like, "Oh, you're 21." He was drunk driving, and they stopped him, and they were like, "Oh, you know, where are you headed? What are the bags for?" The bags were body, and I think actually it was Steve's body, the first one, and no, it wasn't Steve's body. It was the second one. And you know, he was trying to figure out what to do with it, and he was taking it to go ahead and get decomposed or whatever to the junkyard, and he couldn't make it to the junkyard because he was so drunk. So the point that I'm making is the life gave him plenty of chances to get on the straight and narrow and to do the right thing, and he just chose not to. So overall, my opinions are that, one, you need to take heed to people. When people tell you certain things, don't ignore them. Jeffrey Dahmer, the signs were there. The signs were there from a very early age. So don't ignore your kids. If your kids see something that's very weird, out there, outlandish, don't think it's no. Take it serious. Write it down. Mark a date. Today, this is my so and so says so and so at so and so, and get your kids some help, okay? Because you don't want them to end up in situations like this. Maybe not this bad, but even any situation you don't want your kid to end up with. Okay? And even then, if you see something, and I mean, Glenda tried her hardest as a neighbor. Hey, Chino, stop. Glenda tried her hardest as a neighbor to get help. There was this young 14-year-old kid that actually was one of his victims that actually got drugged, and he was able to get away. The cops came and sent him right back to Jeffrey Dahmer's house because Jeffrey said that he was his boyfriend. Now, of course, being at the time was very squeamish about gay and, you know, bi and lesbian, all that kind of stuff. They were like, "Oh, okay, that's your boyfriend." Mind you, Glenda was like, "You can't tell this is a young boy. You cannot tell this is a child." And all of this is recorded, like on record. That's the crazy thing about it. This is on record, videotapes, recordings of all this stuff happening. Like, this was not even far ago, like 20 years ago, 25, 6 years ago, you know, when the situation happened. So there was a record of everything. There was recordings, everything. And so it's just crazy to see how, you know, people look at people's skin and location and don't take things seriously. You know, even though it's still the 90s, you would think that there was more progression. And I would say from the 90s to now, we've had more progression, of course, because things like that happen. But the point is, why does it take for something like that to happen for us to push the change? And Jesse Jackson had gotten involved with this situation because at the end of the day, Glenda was an African-American woman who was telling the truth, who was trying to save people, and was telling the cops, the actual cops, that this was going on with these people, and they didn't believe her. They didn't listen. They didn't take her serious. They thought she was just being a crazy black woman, right? Crazy mad black woman, right? No, she was really trying to save these people's lives, and she literally could smell these decomposing bodies through her apartment. Yeah. Like, could y'all imagine? Could y'all imagine knowing that you live next door to a mass killer, a mass murderer? There's a neighbor that was in 318, I think it was 318 or 310. I forgot his name. His name started with a D. I think it was David, who she saw one day. The next day, Jeffrey Dahmer meets the guy, and next thing he turns up missing. Where is he? She alerts the manager of the building, and they start to go on the hunt and ask, around what's going with the guy. Nobody sees what's happening to the guy. Nobody knows what's happening to this guy, David. But Jeffrey Dahmer knows what happened to the guy, right? It's just amazing that he had just. I personally feel like, and maybe this is against speculation, but I'm gonna say how I feel. I personally do feel like because of his complexion of his skin, he was not taken as seriously as he should have been taken. And by the time they took him that serious, it was too late, and he already did too much damage. So I feel like there's a lot of lessons that can be learned with this series. And I feel like a lot of people who watch this series should get the bigger picture and not just a picture of this is Jeffrey Dahmer's life. This is a good TV show. Not TV show, not good. But this is an interesting. I wouldn't say it's a good. I would say the acting is very well. Very, very well played. Very exceptionally done. Very, very well played. But when I say, I wouldn't say this series is good because it's not good, but I feel like you should get the good message from it. There are important things that you need to get out of this series, and I name a few. I'm sure there's more that other people that watch they can name, but these are the things that reach out to me. I feel like take heed to your kids, take heed to people around you. Make it apparent when there's an issue. Make it apparent. Scream from the top of your lungs and tell everybody and their mother as much as you can. Don't stop until you feel like you got some kind of results. Understand that people are crazy and you can't trust everybody. And that's one of the issues. He was just so much of a friendly person, and he was kind of weird, but people seemed to like him. He seemed to be likable. He was some kind of a likable person. People to just entertain themselves with him so much. Don't just take a pretty face and think that you could trust them all back because they look a certain way. No. You can't do that. And also make it known that you guys, everybody has restrictions. Know your limits. Know your limits. And if you have an intuition about something, do not ignore it. Most situations that happen, if anybody, recants or have a testimony for this story, they normally would say, I had a feeling. I kind of knew. And, at that point in time, that's your time to say, okay, I'm going to take the step to fix the situation or get out of it. If you are in a situation where it does not feel right, get out of it then and there. Do not try to make amends. Do not try to fix the problem. Do not try to ask questions and figure it out. You can't trust everybody. Get out when you can. So, how you doing, love? I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. It's been a while since I did a video, so I appreciate those who popped on that are my OG subscribers. And if you are on this video and you're not a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Please like, please share. If you guys have any topics you want me to discuss, please leave them in the comments down below. Or you can email me, Klarissicasays@gmail.com. All information to get in contact with me will be in my description box, as well as the 70 people that we're going to RIP for. That's what I feel like is most important about this series, pay homage to those people and their stories. I do feel like there should be more attention on the families than it is Jeffrey Dahmer, but of course Jeffrey Dahmer was a crazy person. So of course they talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. They don't talk about the 17 victims as much as I feel like they should, because at the end of the day, the families are the ones that are grieving. And just to go ahead and end this conversation about it, the families did get some form of payment compensation. The dad did write a book, and of course they didn't get that far because the family was like, I want to get, make sure I get some return on that, because as I feel like they should. If you're going to write anything about it, my kids are involved. I would like to make sure that I'm getting some part about it. We're not going to talk about your side of the story with this crazy male who's now slaughtered everybody. No. The young child who was in the situation, he and his family did get a payout of $850,000 back in the 90s. So it was kind of more, weighted compared to now, which I felt like was amazing, because at least they did get something. They were suing for $1 million, but then agreeing to $850,000, and that had nothing to do with the other families. The other families had a separate lawsuit which was paid out, and there was a guy who graciously took all of the items from Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment and auctioned it off, and was able to get each family that was involved $30,000. So also help with the grieving process, and of course bills and stuff like that. It just saddens me to know that that's what somebody's existence. those 17 people had families, and the existence to know that though their family members were involved in this saddens me. As far as Jeffrey Dahmer and how he ended, I feel like people get what they deserve. Karma is a bitch, and it could have been a lot worse for him. I do agree with the judge sentencing him to 17 lives in prison, which was 900 years, which of course he couldn't live out 900 years. I agree with the point of Jeffrey Dahmer asked for, to basically die. I gotta be very frank with how I say things on YouTube. So he asked to get the penalty, but the judge was like, no, that's an out. Like, what you're gonna stick in the jail, and you're going to suffer, and you're going to feel the wrath of what you have done. And I agree with that. But of course, he didn't make it that long in the process. And also in the movie, they did say that he, of course, went to God, and he, went to be more religious and to follow the Christianity way, which is amazing. I feel like any person that goes into a religion for the right reasons, or understand God for the right reason, is a good thing. I just feel like I just feel like I hate people that, I should say I hate. I just like situations that now that you have done the situation, you want to go and apologize. You want to go in and repent for your sins instead of taking account for the sins that you have done. Like, you get what I'm trying. I mean, that may sound, I don't know if that sounds harsh or evil, but it's kind of like, people that say, for instance, your mom said don't eat the candy, and you're not supposed to eat that candy, but you eat that candy, and then you're like, I'm so sorry, Mom, I'm so sorry I ate the candy. But bro, you already knew not to eat the candy. Because at the end of the day, he did go to church when he was younger. His grandmother was pushing him to go to church, while he was doing all of this craziness. So it's not like he didn't have the opportunity to go to God before, or Jesus before. He chose not to. He actually said that he had an altar, and that he enjoyed, and it was like, it's just a whole bunch of satanic stuff. A whole lot of, okay? But it's like, now that you got caught, now you want to turn to God. Maybe, it was something that clicked in his mind, which is okay. I feel like, okay, it's never too late. It's never too late. If you are a true Christian, then you believe in that. I understand. If you're a true believer of God, you have to be a Christian. A true believer of knowing there's a higher power out there, besides whatever your religion is, then you believe that people can, turn to good. It's more about being your best self. That's how I feel in life. And life is about being your best self. And when you're doing things that you're not supposed to do, that it's not being your best self, And so for Jeffrey Dahmer, I guess he did end up finding the truth and finding the best version of himself, and who he could have been, and how he should have handled himself better. And I feel like for that is a good thing, At least he did come to that understanding. But I still don't feel like, it was right. It wasn't right. And who am I to judge? He said that he repent for his sins. That's his sins. That's his situation. That's what he got going on. But I genuinely feel for the family, and for them to have a heart to understand what has happened, and accept it, and live a godly life, to be able to forgive. Because you have to also forgive. And if you really believe in a higher power and religion, stuff like that, you have to learn how to forgive those who have fought you. Jesus says, slap me on one cheek, turn the other, slap me again. You know what I'm trying to say? So you got to learn how to have a heart for forgiveness. You forgive, but you don't forget. So that's kind of where I met with that. If I was involved with this, and I hope and I pray and I manifest that I never, ever, 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 ever have to be put in any similar. I don't even want a speeding ticket. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, if I was put in Glenda's situation, Glenda, let me be in Glenda's situation where I'm the neighbor trying to help. I don't want to be in another situation. Respectfully, I don't want to. If I was put in Glenda's situation, I would have a heart like how she had a heart, and be raging with anger with what has happened and what happened. And they never really asked Glenda like a public of how she felt, besides like news stories about her, which I found to be weird. I feel like she should have been on all the news stations. I feel like she should have been on all ABC all of the everything. I feel like she should have been interviewed too, just like Jeffrey Dahmer was, because it was her life and the families, everybody should have been on Oprah. Like, like I feel like that should have been something that should have been broadcasted to the masses to like get everybody's point of view. But as she stated, they really did not give her that much airtime besides putting her in the paper for her opinion that she gave, by her house. But as far as national, stories goes, he was in magazines like People and you were New York Times, and so Glenna should have been in New York Times too. Those stadiums should have been in New York Times too. That's what I'm saying. Not just stories or the story about them, but like their stories should have been also on the front cover as well. That's what I mean, because it's about those people, that also went through this. But, that's neither here nor there. You can't, what can you do besides be vigilant, smart, and move in the correct way? So, like I said before, RIP to all of the people that were involved. I do still send my condolences to the family members because most of them are still alive. This did not happen 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago. This is about just 20 something years ago, okay? So the family members are still out there, still living, And so I do give my condolences out to those family members that are now, getting this brought back up. And I do hope, I'm not sure that the families are getting some form of compensation from this, because if not, I know for a fact that this Netflix series did great numbers. This was one of the best recants of a situation that Netflix has had. Literally, I can honestly say that. So, I hope that the family members are getting some kind of compensation from this series, because it does involve them, and they also have legalities towards anything, I think, with Jeffrey Dahmer for them to get a piece of the pie, as they rightfully should. So hopefully they do. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about it or have any opinions or want to talk a little bit more about this in the comment section, please do. I'm here for y'all. I'm here for y'all opinions. I'm here to see how y'all feel and what the situation is from your perspective. It just bothers me. I feel like I look bothered because I am bothered. But I watched it 10 episodes straight through. I binged it, and I feel like it was worth it. I believe this is part of history. It's not just about his story. People have to see the bigger pictures. It's about everything that was revolved around this guy's story. Everything that happened, the impact of this could have been avoided. People were in situations where they tried to help, but they didn't because of political reasons like complexion of skin. Okay, which is why Jesse Jackson was involved. People were like, oh, why was he involved when the movie first came out? That's why. And also the reason why one of the sisters of one of the men that were killed had a shirt that said 100% black. Y'all seen the clip of her being mad, like she said, this is what you call mad, and the fact that he didn't even, the whole time while he was being sentenced, they gave a moment for the family to go up to the altar and basically give their words to Jeffrey on how they feel. And during the whole entire time, Jeffrey just looked down. Like, he just looked down. And I feel like that's the most utmost disrespect. At least if you're gonna, you stand by you with the things you do. If you're gonna stand by it, you still by it by saying all the details. So now that we're all here, stand by your decision, stand by what you did, and be respectful, and at least look me in my eye. Looked at me in my face. So I couldn't say why she was that mad. And she went ham and almost was about to strangle the dang guy because he was looking down at basically during all the people that were talking to him and talking to the judge, which was to me disrespectful, So it's just crazy how the times have came where, as an African American race, we have gotten to the point where at least now we're starting to be heard. It is crazy that it takes stuff like this to happen for change to be pushed out there and for things to be apparent, that change needs to happen. And it's just crazy, because the thing about it is, I make sure I say this, most of the situations happen in an area where it was not the best area, because that's what Jeffrey Dahmer said he can afford, which is true, because he didn't really work that well with jobs. So he stayed in an area, in an environment where it was predominantly African American people, or ethnic people. And so, you know, there was a high crime area that he lived around, and so therefore the police didn't take things seriously. They took a while for them to arrive to things, and they did not take African American people, calls as serious as other people, as we all know. So, now we're working on that. Things are getting better, and all we can do is hope for the future and try to make sure you're doing your best to be the change that you want to see in this world. Don't just talk about it, be about it, and do what you can do to actually make the difference. And yeah, I love y'all. I love y'all so, 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 so much. If you see anything, say something. Do not close a blind eye to things that you know should not be. Do not close a blind eye to those things that you see that should not be. You never know, you might save somebody's life. So, with that being said, y'all, I love y'all so much, so much, so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and share if you're not already doing so, and leave your comments down below. I'll be in my comment section looking for you guys in opinions and perspectives and just some dialogue from you guys. Stay tuned for my next video. I don't know when it will be, but I have lots of video that I need to go ahead and edit and put on my channel. I think I'm gonna start to maybe separate my channels with my family and do more of videos like this only. I do lots of videos, and so I think I might start to separate different type of content to make this channel more forefront to stuff like this. I'm not quite sure, but if you guys don't know, my name is Klarissica. I do uplifting motivational videos, work out videos, hair, nails, beauty, and more, which is why I'm saying I think I might start to separate things out, because I want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of this channel, and I'm not doing too much that doesn't kind of filter me to a specific clientele of audience. And so if you guys think that would be a good idea, let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys like the way my channel is now, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any opinions for my channel, if how my channel could be better or better suit you as a viewer, let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, y'all, I love y'all, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, and blessings. Be safe out there, okay?